Michigan recruiting. It's been a little bit since we've seen a commitment from the Wolverines. Some call this a lull in recruiting. Some people on your site, EJ, are panicking. So, do you think there's an underlying issue here, or is Michigan just building some momentum toward a big summer?
I wouldn't say building momentum. You haven't had a commitment since late February when Bear McWhorter committed. Right now, two of the three commits or 3 stars, you only have three commits on board. I think historically, Michigan likes to close with recruits later in the cycle, especially during summer official visits. So June will be a big month for Michigan. They can build momentum then and turn it into fall momentum, which is obviously flip season, more official visits, signing day around the corner. And that's when Michigan got their majority of big wins last year. Remember,
Right.
they flipped Shamari Earls from Georgia. They flipped Bryce Underwood from LSU. They flipped Jordan Young from Clemson. They closed with Nathaniel Wusu Boateng on signing day. So Michigan fans should not panic. I think it's maybe a little bit of a slower start than usual, but at the same time, it's not like Michigan comes out running out of the gates. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and that holds true in recruiting in general.
Yeah, and over on the Wolverine, you guys wrote a great story addressing some of the fans' concerns, and I thought the article was great, very level-headed. You were quoted in there, and I liked your take as well. But reading the message board comments, I mean, there is a good bit of panic, and I just can't figure it out because we're not even 5 months removed from Michigan pulling off probably the biggest recruiting win in the last decade in flipping Bryce Underwood from LSU. I mean, heck, a year ago at this time, EJ, there was no thought of Michigan having what it takes to compete for a Bryce Underwood. Now here we are. He's already early enrolled, and Michigan is just a couple months removed from that. But has anything really changed? Do you see an underlying issue here, or are fans just kind of getting ahead of themselves on the message board?
I think you kind of have to take a median on this. You have to take a level headed approach when you read things like that. One, on the positive side, Michigan has the backing. It's not going anywhere. Michigan has a huge alumni base. They have people willing to pour in to NIL. They have one of the biggest donors in the country with the Ellison family. So
Mm-hmm.
I am not concerned about Michigan not having money, which is a large part of it. You know, you have to compete in NIL
Absolutely.
and recruiting in this era. So Michigan has the backing. I'm not concerned about Michigan's backing. Now, the moving parts piece that we wrote about yesterday is Michigan's in jeopardy of losing their general manager, Sean McGee, who has spearheaded the movement of modernizing Michigan's NIL approach in terms of recruiting. Losing Sean McGee would be detrimental for the future. They already have his plan in motion. He's a guy with NFL experience coming over from the Chicago Bears. He's implementing sort of a salary cap type of model, an
Mm-hmm.
NFL type of model, while still getting Michigan and those around the program to pay for the bigger, 5-star level names like they did with Bryce Underwood last cycle, like they did with Ty Haywood last cycle. So their vision for the future has not changed. What is not happening right now is Michigan is not talking exact numbers with recruits on visits. So you look at guys like Javian Osborne who visited, they didn't get a number. Notre Dame gave him a number. You look at other guys that are visiting, Calvin Russell, he's a top 100 wide receiver, didn't get a number. That one's going to be NIL heavy.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Pete Nako's report that Michigan's not in the top three for Jackson Cantwell. Didn't get a number. He's going to command north of $1 million. Schools like Miami, Georgia, Oregon, they're already talking numbers. And, this isn't, a knock on those kids. They
Yeah.
have market value. This is just it's the situation. It is what it is. It's the era of college football recruiting right now. So I think with Michigan, those are the two pieces. You may be losing your general manager, who is underpaid, only making $400,000. Michigan had Courtney Morgan on staff. He's making north of $1 million, almost 3 times as much as Sean McGee, maybe 3 times as much at Alabama. So, you're underpaying Sean McGee. If he goes, do you pay more money? You're not willing to invest in Sean McGee. So are you going to invest in a general manager that is adequate at running NIL and building relationships with agents and can continue this plan or formulate his own plan? Who knows if you're underpaying at that position? And then, like I said, on the flip side of the coin, you're not seeing early momentum build because Michigan's not talking exact numbers like other schools. That's not to say they won't talk exact numbers
exactly.
down the line.
Now,
because
EJ,
yeah,
let
so
me play devil's advocate here. Maybe this is a strategy, right? Because it didn't impact Michigan's ability to go flip Bryce Underwood in November because they didn't talk numbers with him in April. It didn't impact Owusu Boateng when he made his decision in December. Maybe this, and I'm playing devil's advocate, and I'm not talking necessarily to you. I saw a lot of these comments on your story on the message board, and I just think that maybe this could all be a strategy because maybe you don't show your hand right now if you're Michigan. If you know you have the money, why start the bidding in April when you can start the bidding in late November, similar to how you did with Bryce Underwood? You know what I'm saying? Like, this could be all a strategy by Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're playing devil's advocate. I think you have a point. I mean, you look at schools that are loading up on commits right now. USC, they lost a ton of commits last cycle. You look at Notre Dame, they lose commits all the time. They lost plenty of commits last cycle. Those schools that are offering numbers right now are more likely to lose commits down the line when the prices go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Michigan, it is a little bit of strategy. They are also waiting to see how the rev share situation impacts college football recruiting.
Definitely.
Obviously, we kind of go into that on July 1st, which is when official visits are wrapping up. They want to see, what the court rulings are on that before they kind of finalize their plans and start talking exact numbers. So just because they lose some recruiting battles right now, if Javian Osborne goes to Notre Dame, if Jordan Thomas goes to Ohio State, what does it matter? They're not signing with those programs right now. Michigan has the backing, and if they talk exact numbers later in the cycle, they can always flip those kids just like they did last cycle with their biggest wins. Like I said earlier, Shamari Earls, Bryce Underwood, Jordan Young, those were all flips. Those were all guys you talked exact numbers with later on in the cycle. So I don't think the fact that Michigan isn't talking exact numbers is something to really paint out. Frustrating because you want to build some momentum heading into summer official visits. But Michigan has a long-term vision, and Sean McGee has a good plan for the future of how Michigan will handle everything once rev share comes into fruition, once those court rulings are finalized, and they head into the more important part of the recruiting cycle, which is fall and winter as we get closer to signing day. But the big thing here for Michigan now is keeping Sean McGee so that the vision is completed, because if you lose Sean McGee, that vision is kind of gone, and you have to either start from scratch or find somebody that can build on that model. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, yeah, the interim is frustrating. The long-term vision, I think Michigan will be just fine. And there are recruits that understand that. Don't get me wrong. Like, there are recruits that want immediate dollar figures right now, but there are recruits that are playing the long game. Savion Hyder is one of them. They just had his agent on campus over the weekend. I talked to the father of John Turntine, top 100 offensive lineman who will surely command NIL. They are fine with Sean McGee's long-term plan. But again, you have to keep Sean McGee in order for that long-term plan to come true.
All right. Well, very level-headed approach you got there, EJ. Speaking of momentum, when will the next big visit weekend be in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I mean, this weekend will be a big weekend. They have 5-star quarterback Ryder Lyons coming to campus. I think that, he's been the guy for quite some time at the quarterback position, technically a 2027 since he's part of the LDS church, but still, the guy they see as the quarterback taking over for Bryce Underwood once he's gone. That's Ryder Lyons, So it'll be their first opportunity to make a big impression on him and his family. They have some other 4 stars coming in as well. Davion Brown, a big-time wide receiver out of Virginia, will be making his way on campus. On 300 defensive back Andre Clark, another Virginia native, will be on campus as well. They'll have some 2027s, but I think the cycle or the spotlight here this weekend really starts with Ryder Lyons. And again, they're not going to talk exact numbers with Ryder Lyons right now. They will later on. And I think, Josh, pre-show, we kind of talked a little bit about some of these 5 stars, Ryder Lyons, Jackson Cantwell, Savion Hyder. There will be discussions with these guys later in the cycle. I can guarantee it, especially if they keep Sean McGee. So, I don't care if Michigan doesn't have the lead for Ryder Lyons right now. I don't care if Michigan isn't in the top 3 for Jackson Cantwell right now. I care in November.
Yep, I agree with that. And Michigan fans, talk to us. I am curious. Here's what we're going to do. I want to know your level of concern, 1 through 10. 1 being no concern at all over Michigan recruiting. 10, I am panicking. Let us know. Drop a number in the comment section below.